Jumpin' In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. Here we are once again in our now getting used to Friday night slot, alternating with our sister programme Sweet and Swing. It is Jumpin' In this evening, the best in modern and contemporary jazz from Britain and around the globe, with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show. And can you believe it's all over bar the shouting? Yes, the next Jumping In will be in the autumn. Although, to be fair, there are those who think autumn is the only season we really get these days, and by and large, the weather's better. But on the upside, it means that the London Jazz Festival can't be far away. Also, there are a raft of new releases which will all be vying for Jazz Album of the Year ranking as usual. And we've got a selection of the very best. So, H, is it too early for you to be thinking of favourites, or do you think the best is yet to come? And to be fair, you haven't worked your way through last year's releases yet.
Well, A, B and C, yes, all the above probably. Haven't worked my way through releases probably from the year before last in some cases, I dare say. There's so much coming our way for which we are very grateful, albeit it's very tricky to handle all. Anyway, as regards the best albums, you never know, do you? Sometimes the very good ones come at the end of the year and they don't make it into the list, and sometimes a very good one at the beginning of the year and people forget about it. But it's cracking stuff out one way or another. I'm looking at this evening the latest from Giovanni Guidi on ECM, with the great James Brandon Lewis joining his piano trio. So a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit like a laid-back piano trio with that great sax of Brandon Lewis whacked on top. It's really a great sound. Going back a bit with On This Day, Joe Lovano and his nonet at the Vanguard. And an old friend we haven't seen for a long time, Jean-Michel Pilc, with one of his latest.
And from me, we don't see, we're not clean, we remember, and to start, we scrub up as we enter the operating room with the Tracy Young Jazz Orchestra. Operating Room, or OR, the title track of the new album from the Tracy Young Jazz Orchestra, which was released today, so you can go out and grab it. Tracy, who originally hails from Taiwan, has established herself as a composer and musician over the past decade in New York. A recipient of the esteemed Charlie Parker Jazz Composition Prize, she's also been honoured with a number of grants and commissions for work. And what a great band. She's put together a roster of first-call musicians, many of whom are band leaders in their own right. And I think that's only indicative of the respect she garners both as a composer and a musician, but also what a vibrant melting pot of talented musicians from all cultures New York is. I can think of at least half a dozen big bands, and the same people obviously really enjoy playing in each. YOR as a title? Well, prior to taking the leap of faith to pursue her dreams as a jazz composer, Tracy had been a radiographer, and she says in her days of recording OR, she felt as if she was operating her own operating room alongside a dedicated OR team. OR, or Operating Room, is on the Brooklyn Jazz Underground labels, and as I mentioned, it was released today.
Cracking stuff, great sound, and always love these big band sounds knocking around. And as we often say, there can't be any money in it. There really can't when you look at the economics of modern music. That the players must be there for the love of it in so many ways.
Well, and you look at the names of them as well.
Yeah,
as you say, many of them are leaders in their own right. They can't be getting paid.
Which I suppose is why there's so much great small group jazz around, because it's small, it's economic, it's easy to transport around if you're touring, and so supporting an album or recording, whatever, much easier. And Giovanni Guidi, the ECM artist, has a new one out that came out, I think it was released towards the second week of July, if memory serves correct. A New Day, with Thomas Morgan, the brilliant bassist, and Lobo on drums, but adding James Brandon Lewis, who seems to be getting everywhere these days, on saxophone. And he's played Guidi with Morgan and Lobo before, and the partnership there goes back over a decade, but he said he wanted to expand the group's musical grasp with the introduction of Brandon Lewis making his ECM debut, it has to be said. He said he had conversations with Brandon going back many years, and he saw him live playing one time, and he said that led me to believe that with James the group dialogue could develop towards more abstract, open and improvisational approaches. Let's hear them on a fully improvised track on the album. A lot of them are composed by Guidi, but this one was a group improvisation called Only Sometimes. And there it goes. Wonderful stuff. I've been enjoying what I've heard of that. I haven't heard the entire album yet, but A New Day, Giovanni, Guidi on ECM, James Brandon Lewis on the saxophone there, Thomas Morgan bass, Yo Lobo at the drums, and yeah, that was a freely improvised track. Like I said, there's one standard, I think My Funny Valentine, and the rest of it is composed by Guidi. 5 of the 7 tracks, in fact, Guidi originals, and Thomas Morgan doing some great bow work on some other tracks as well. Guidi says, I've worked with Manfred, that's Manfred Eicher from ECM, for many years now, each time a new opportunity for deep introspection and free dialogue, sharing and learning. And in the studio, Manfred told us to imagine a new album and not the next album, so to speak. So the relationship was strong and trusting, and we all took the chance to lead and go for it. Recorded last August in France, actually, not in the usual place in Munich or the States. Produced, of course, by Manfred Eicher. And yeah, I've been enjoying it. Lots of space, quite free in places, very introspective, as he says, and has more than a tilt of Bobo Stenson. Well, I was thinking the great Bobo Stenson and his trio again, that sort of feeling of organics again, quite a lot of improvisation, a lot of air in between the notes at times, melodies sort of coming and going, and that sort of almost floating in space sort of feeling. So beloved, actually, of ECM, really. They're all ECM traits, those. And amazingly, James Brandon Lewis can be a very free blower, seems to fit in very nicely indeed, but he's super talented. I mean, we saw him last year, and he was blowing full stop for about 2 hours with his quartet, and his own stuff tends to be much freer, louder, and more in your face. But my word, he can play in that nice, introspective way as well.
He certainly can, and he's normally got at least 2 groups on the go, and both of them, as you say, he would blow the spots off a leopard, but he fits right into the ECM canon. I'm enjoying that album very much as well, and thanks to Zach at Crossover Media for sending us a copy of that. Next up for me, the latest from a musician who never fails to excite and delight, trumpeter and composer Alex Sapiegan, and his new release on Horizons, beg his pardon, it's no exception. Here's While You Weren't Looking. Yes, while you weren't looking, and if you weren't looking at the chart for that, well, good luck. You really had your work cut out. One of two Pat Metheny compositions on the new Alex Sapiegan album Horizons, the other 8 being Sapiegan originals. The second Metheny piece is very different, a dreamy ballad. However, Pat says when he was asked to write a piece specifically for this band, he wanted to challenge them technically whilst still providing the musicians space to solo over. I think my first hearing of Alex Sapiegan, probably like yours, H, was part of Michael Brecker's Quindectet album Wide Angles way back in 2005, but I knew he was definitely going to be one to watch out for. Alex says his relationship with Metheny dates right back to Pli Glasnost 1980s, when after receiving his baccalaureate he then got called up to do mandatory conscription and served with a military band near Moscow, a period he says he survived only by constantly playing the 2 cassettes he had, Pat Metheny's group's Travels and Wayne Shorter's Native Dancer. And these were what inspired him in his move to the States later on. And what a great band. A quintet of Chris Potter on saxes, John Escreet on piano and synth, Matt Brewer on bass, Eric Harland on the drums, and Alex Sabayan on trumpet and flugel. And some similarity in the lineup to the Misha Tsiganov I played a few weeks ago, and that's excellent as well. Horizons came out at the end of June on the Blue Room music label. Definitely worth seeking out, and thank to Groove Marketing for sending us a copy.
Never fails to please, does Alex Sabayan, it has to be said. Hey, you're Joe.
Hello, this is Joe Lovano, and you're listening to Manx Radio with H and Chris. Jumping in.
Recorded live at the Village Vanguard there, as you can, well, you might not recognise the Village Vanguard, but you probably guess, with that applause, that it is indeed live. Joe Lovano Nonette on this day at the Village Vanguard, and it's one of those slightly worrying albums I picked up in the bargain bins quite recently, and then I haven't managed yet to decide whether I already have a copy or not. If I have, I haven't found another copy of it. It's jolly good stuff, so I don't regret spending a few quid on it. And I thought, I definitely haven't got this. And then I got home and thought, oh yeah, I think I have. And so I went looking to see, have I got a double up here? But no, so far, if I have filed the other one somewhere, I've lost it. Anyway, good stuff indeed. You can't go wrong with anything at the Village Vanguard, really. And Joe with, quickly go through them, Barry Reese on trumpet, Larry Farrell on trumpet, Steve Slagle, Larry Farrell on trombone, I beg his pardon, Steve Slagle on alto sax, George Gazzoni on tenor, Ralph Lama on tenor as well, Scott Robinson, he's a well-known player, on baritone, John Hicks at the piano, Lewis Nash at the drums, Dennis Irwin played a lot with John Schofield, of course, on the bass, and all brought together on this day at the Village Vanguard by the ever-cheerful Joe Lovano. And I think the day in question was September the 29th, 2002. Over 20 years ago. Oh, don't think about it.
Oh, keep digging. If you do find a copy, I think I could probably find a home for it. I don't think I've got that one. Now, how about lifting the tempo a bit with a bit of bop? The Smoke label never disappoints when it comes to swinging releases, and their latest is something of a new jazz supergroup. They're calling themselves Something Else! ! Just to make sure you pricked your ears up. And this doesn't disappoint. From their latest release, their first release, Soul Jazz, here's Horace Silver's Filthy McNasty. Filthy McNasty, a Horace Silver track originally recorded, can you believe it, way back in 1961 on his album Doing the Thing, and long before Boaty McMoatface was even a dingy on his dad's derrick, and brought to us by Something Else, a self-styled jazz supergroup on the Smoke Sessions label, and with a lineup led by alto sax virtuoso Vincent Herring, alongside Jeremy Pelt, again another man who rarely puts a foot wrong, on trumpet, and Wayne Escoffrey on tenor, Paul Pollenbeck on the guitar, David Kokoski on the piano, and Esiet on bass, what a great name, and Otis Brown III on the drums. So who are we to disagree? The album Soul Jazz hit the racks a couple of months ago and will certainly give foot tappers a good workout.
Indeed. Are you morphing into Ian Cottier with a chuckling after every track there? Yes, I don't know, I'll chuckle before or after this one, but I meant to say before Joe Lovano was playing After the Rain. I thought it was a very appropriate track really for this summer. Jean-Michel Pilc, used to reside in France and the UK, and we used to see him in the UK quite a bit, and we spoke to him once or twice, and then he moved stateside and has enjoyed life there ever since, I think, as far as I'm aware. I think he's in Canada now, if memory serves correct. Still playing brilliantly, though, with his spiky style. He's got sort of half Jarrett, half Monk, and, I can't say half himself, so that's one and a half. Third Jarrett, third Monk, third Pilc, maybe, I don't know. With long-time associates Francois Mouton at bass, Ari Honig at the drums. Here's his take from his latest, as far as I'm aware, album, 2023, You Are the Song. Latest one I've got, in any case, will come my way. His take on Straight No Chaser. should go. There, really. Because it is one of those tracks, isn't it? He is such a deconstructionist in that you sometimes get almost towards the end of the track before you recognise what it is. And I think heavily influenced maybe by Marshall Salal, and that the last time we saw him, again, he was amazing, way into his 80s, and he was playing like that. If you closed your eyes and didn't realise it was a chap in his 80s playing the piano, you'd have thought it was a man in his 20s or 30s. He was so fresh and so angular and so taking everything to bits. Brilliant. And Jean-Michel Pilc does it to great effect as well. There he is, under the banner of, he's sort of going down the EST label, PMH, Pilc, Mutar Honig, You Are the Song. And there's a whole load. And right, he is out of Canada these days, Quebec, I think he's based. And he does a few songs as you, Straightener Chaser, Bemshire Swing, all sorts of takes on some great classics from the bebop and post-bop canon. Wonderful stuff, and I'd love to see him again live. He doesn't seem to come this side of the Atlantic that often these days.
No, have to keep your eyes open. And all of those, all three of them are great leaders as well, aren't they? The Mouton Brothers, the Mouton Factory
I'd love to see them live
group,
as well,
and also Hernig, great drummer. Well, that is about it for this week's show. But before we go, we've just about got time to fit in a tribute to keyboardist, composer and multi-instrumentalist Sean Martin, who sadly passed away at the start of August, aged just 45. Sean was an integral part of Snarky Puppy right back to the beginning, and regularly as musical director for gospel musician Kirk Franklin, and was a recipient of 7 Grammy Awards, 4 with Kirk, 3 with Snarky Puppy. And I think he was also a preacher, but whilst scant details are available, it was known that he'd been facing some serious health challenges and had recently suffered a stroke, because there was actually a concert to try and raise some money for him and his family. There are countless tributes from friends and other musicians. His fellow Snarky Puppy members wrote, "We lost a music legend and, more importantly, a beautiful, luminous human being. Sean Martin touched so many people during his life, and through the beautiful immortality of his music, he will continue to do so." So taken from his 2020 release, 3-0, with the voice of his young son in the background, this is Liberty of the Rising Sun.
We will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Look after yourselves.